What was your how didn't they notice moment? When I was about 13 I shaved my little brother's eyebrow off. I don't know why. I panicked and drew it back on with a marker with little hope that I would get away with it and avoid my mom's anger. Somehow I got through the first day, then the first week, every day getting ready for school and redrawing his eyebrow on with a marker to hide it from my mom. After a couple weeks it had largely grown back and I realized that by some miracle I got away with it. Years later I came clean to my mom and she still refuses to believe that she didn't notice. My sister went to have a bath one night and shaved both her eyebrows off with my granddad's razor that he left in there. When she came out it was noticed immediately. She blamed me even though she entered with eyebrows and came out without them. One day my sister mentioned in front of my dad that she'd been helping me rearrange furniture at my house. Mentions my boyfriend. My dad is all surprised. You and your boyfriend sleep in the same room? Dark by that point. We'd been living together for 6 years. It was my BS house. My parents had been over dozens of times. Where did they think I slept? Oh, we assumed you slept in the guest room. By yourself. My adult self drove my girlfriend to her home. From college. For a long weekend to Long Island. The plan was that I was going to stay with them for a couple days and then we were going to go to New York City for a couple days. My girlfriend told me they knew about this plan. When we arrived they made me sleep in the basement guest room. And I thought it was a little strict but fine, no big deal. But then I noticed we couldn't be left behind in the house alone and I thought it was a little strict but no big deal still. Then I mentioned I had booked a hotel room for us in New York City and a huge fight broke out about how we were going to be in the same room. Overnight. I tried to be serious but at this point I still have no idea what they thought was happening between their daughter and me. I also never went back there. Cue me and the boys playing hide and seek senior year. It's nighttime. Dark. It had previously rained. The only light is from street lights and my friend's garage. Friend A counts to 20 in the garage. We all scatter around the outside of his house and a bit further to some other houses. I decide to hide not 10 feet away, in the shadow of an AC unit right outside the garage. I was wearing full black, and I pulled my hood down to cover my entire face. I was in a crouched fetal position. I heard friend A walk past me about 5 times. From both directions. I peeked once and he even glanced directly my way. I was in plain sight. I felt like a ninja. My boyfriend and I initially started dating in high school. Our friend group was me and a bunch of guys. And I was relatively new to the group and worried I'd become his girlfriend if we went public too quickly. So we kept it quiet. We later stopped caring. But it was too far in to make an announcement without seeming weird, so we decided to just admit everything if anyone ever asked, but not bring it up ourselves. Well, we weren't the couple that was all over each other in public, but we were fairly affectionate, always sitting next to each other, talking somewhat privately, playfully poking and all that. We would also hold hands on our way out of school, when we didn't see anyone around. That last one is what nearly caused problems the most. Regularly someone would come up behind us and say hi, and we'd quickly drop our hands. They never seemed to notice. Shockingly, our friends were really oblivious. We figured that they were probably noticing, but not saying anything. Until one day, somehow a conversation arose about how some people are closer in our group than others. Both of our names are mentioned, and they all say that we seem like close friends. Somehow they all noticed we were close but never put 2 and 2 together. I know this because of the shock they experienced when they finally properly found out. We're still together, by the way. In boot camp when it was lights out, many of the other recruits wouldn't sleep and would try to monologue to us about whatever. I wanted to sleep, since we always wake up at 5 AM, and they kept us awake till midnight with their debates. At the top of my mother effing lungs I yelled shut the F up. This went on for a while. Then I started doing it earlier and towards the end I didn't even wait for lights out. No one besides my rack mates knew it was me. No one else ever figured out my voice or where it was coming from. My rack mates got a huge kick from it and well they kept it real because we needed our 4 to 6 hours of sleep. I am a high school teacher in California and while explaining something, I accidentally drew a huge D on my board. Confirmed not one kid noticed. There are no accidents. I was playing hide and seek at a friend's with her younger nieces. I was a teenager and not super committed to playing games with a couple of 8-year-olds. and as a joke I put myself in a corner between a wall and a bookshelf, picked up a pillow off the bed, and held it in front of my face. I was immediately visible once you cleared the doorway. I'm not a small person, and from the chest down I was just a person standing, completely unobstructed. The kids came through, looked right at me, and kept searching with growing confusion. The friend, my age, came in behind them thinking I'd gotten somewhere in the closet, and I had to actually wave to catch her attention. Her dad even came through to join the hunt, and I had to actually clear my throat to get him to notice me. Nobody was able to spot me on their own. I was just standing in plain sight holding a pillow in front of my face, but nobody noticed. Once everybody figured it out, they were in hysterics. No one believed I'd been just standing there the entire time. They were certain that I had been hiding elsewhere in the house and then got caught after I'd moved. Nope, you just can't see. So this was when I was still living with my hyper-religious and peculiar mother. Because she doesn't understand technology at all, I was able to get away with a lot. I played Skyrim in secret and she was used to me playing games, so she just ignored me for the most part if I was gaming in my room. If she knew I was playing Skyrim, with its dragons, Draugr, mages, Daedra, vampires, etc., she probably would have taken my PS3 and burned it, grounded me for months and slung hours of Bible guilt trips at me. Anyway, I had been playing for a bit, probably 30-50 hours into my first playthrough, my first time encountering a Draugr Death Lord, you know, the ones that fuss road you across the room. I was, foolishly, naively, playing without headphones when I got blasted across the room 4 times in rapid succession. Suddenly I hear footsteps and pause the game just before my mother bursts into my room, looking from me to THTV screen with a sort of horrified, suspicious look anyone raised by hyper-Christian parents is familiar with. While I had paused the game, it was just the journal screen, which is translucent and you can see gameplay behind it. I happened to be face to face with a Draugr just then and had the Mace of Moloch Bal equipped. I thought for sure I was screwed. She asks, "What are you playing?" It sounds like a war game like Call of Duty or something. I heard explosions and missiles. I told her no, I wouldn't play such a game because I know she doesn't like them and I've seen the gameplay and regardless it's not my cup of tea. True. Her face brightened. "Oh okay, sorry to interrupt you," and flounces out. I heaved a sigh of desperate relief and started shopping for headphones. I absolutely destroyed this thing at an old job of mine. I nervously looked around because my co-workers were all over the place and it was loud, but no one looked. I managed to compose myself, clean it all up and make it seem like nothing had happened, then finish the rest of my day. A week passed before they casually brought up that everyone knew and saw what happened but didn't want to help me. I was the one who didn't notice. My now husband, way back in the early days of our dating, replaced our giant, bulky, old CRT TV with a nice, new flat screen with his Christmas bonus. He did not tell me any of this. I came home from work one day, wandered past the TV and him playing video games, into the bedroom, back past the TV, then the kitchen. Took me a good 45 minutes before I went, "Wait, something is different and I don't know what." He still had to point out to me that what was different was the old TV was missing. When I was 10, I took a dump inside the ruins of a medieval fortress. My grandpa walked by while I was doing my thing. Fortunately for me, he was too absorbed in his thoughts and didn't notice me, even though there were no doors. OP. Thank you for making this thread. I remembered the greatest achievement in my life. I can't believe I have never shared this story to anyone over some drinks. I went for a job interview when I was 6 months pregnant. I wore a fitted pencil skirt and a fitted short blazer over the top. To my eyes the pregnancy was obvious. I was very slim and I had a belly that poked out at the front, well defined by the fitted outfit I wore. They didn't ask anything about it during the interview, so I assumed they were okay with it and didn't volunteer it. Got the job, and on the first day, at orientation, I got introduced to 2 other women who had been hired the same day for other roles in the admin office I was in. One was accounting assistant, one was admin coordinator, and I was admin assistant receptionist. The 2 other women were also pregnant. One looked enormously so, and as it turned out we were all due within the same week. The woman who hired us said to me happily that they were very excited to have us all start, and I would be getting trained by the new admin coordinator so I could take over some of her responsibilities when she went on maternity leave. I had to tell them that I was also very pregnant as well and would be needing to go on leave at the same time as the other two girls. The organization was stunned and didn't know what they were going to do when we all went on leave. Fortunately, they were very comfortable with me coming back to work and bring my baby with me after 2 months off. It worked out great and I stayed working there for around 8 years. Incidentally, all 3 of us gave birth within a day of each other, hahaha. My parents are very strict and don't allow me or my siblings to have electronics in our bedrooms, but we'll ignore that rule and continue doing whatever we do online at night. One morning my mother came into my room to wake me up before school started and opened my curtains, which are on the window next to my bed. On the windowsill behind the curtains is where I keep my laptop, Nintendo Switch Lite, phone and sometimes iPad. She proceeded to rip my covers off and said get up before leaving my room. I had never felt utter panic before then. I was buying weed a few years ago. I pulled up to an apartment complex and was waiting for the weed dude when a window in the apartment in front of me opened. A second later a little girl, maybe 10-12, crawled out. I was 21 so and buying weed, so my thought was, do I yell up? No, she could fall, catch her, nope, there's bushes under there. Then she effing jumped to the balcony next to the window, climbs over the railing, and tries to open the door, but she's locked out. She knocked and some irresponsible, seemingly confused parent opens it and lets her in. No one else saw. In high school I got pulled over for doing just a whole bunch of stuff, mostly related to trying to get away from the cop. He asked me why I did it and I said I was trying to get home by curfew at 1 o'clock. Then I looked at the clock and realized it was already like 3 o'clock, so I changed my story. Just got a warning.